Good evening, everybody, and thank you all on a Wednesday evening. Folks took time out of their schedule to support us and have the opportunity, which is credit, and really to have the ability to buy real estate how we want when we want. Right. Yeah, so that's what today is all about. So for those of you who don't know me, I am Janai Thornton, and welcome to the Thank Me Later, how to build the credit profile you need to buy real estate. And again, grateful that you all took some time out of your schedule to be with us. This is a really big deal for us. Micole, you don't even realize this, but this is the first class that we've taught since we've launched Thank Me Later.
Oh, wow.
This is our inaugural class, so it's a big deal. And the inspiration for the class, well, first I'm gonna stop and acknowledge that. It's a big deal for us. Thank y'all for supporting us. But the inspiration for the class is really simple. You know, I kind of had this idea of this more formal introduction of what I want to share with y'all. But the reality is, this is really about us as Black women being able to buy what we want when we want.
Exactly.
Period. We should be able to buy what we want exactly when we want to. And we want to make sure that through what we're going to talk about today, and we want you all to engage and ask your questions. It's going to be very informal. We want to make sure that nothing keeps you from buying what you want when you want. All right. So that is really the whole inspiration behind tonight. And we have the perfect person to guide us today too. So I'm super excited to have not just our guest, but our subject matter expert today. How do you feel when I say subject matter expert?
I was a little uneasy.
Uneasy. But anybody who's been a mortgage banker, a mortgage lender for over 20 years is a subject matter expert.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so you are. And Micole Sudduth, who is here in the Metro Atlanta area where I am as well. And not only is she a subject matter expert, but the last time that I refinanced my mortgage, Micole is actually the person that I used. And for those of you who know me, I'm super, super private. And it was just an amazing experience, and I learned a lot. And I've had a tremendous amount of respect for you, and very grateful to our friend Yawanda Carter, who introduced us.
She did.
Yes, she did. Thank you, Yawanda. Ladies, this evening we're going to break this conversation up into a few sections. And our first section is really just about the credit basics. So Micole, I have a few questions for you before we open up to see if anyone else has any questions. What story does our credit tell about us? So if we're the buyer or the consumer, you pull our credit, what does it say about us?
It tells me if you're going to pay me, not me back personally, but the bank back.
Okay.
And that's what a credit report's purpose is, to tell what kind of a buyer you are, what type of consumer. So when a lender is lending to you, they're assessing your risk level.
Mm-hmm.
Because anybody that you lend money to, no matter how big of an institution you are, you want to be repaid.
You want to get paid back.
Right.
And so I know Ani came up with our cute little slogan, money, credit, power and respect. But what does credit earn us as far as buying power and respect?
Everything. I remember my mother told me when I was younger, you know, if you have good credit, you don't need a lot of money.
Right.
And at the time, it didn't really register, but as I got older, I definitely understood.
Right.
So she was a huge proponent of, you know, she wanted you to have great teeth, right, and get credit. Let me just be honest, you know.
Not
those
the
are
teeth.
Two big things. The teeth, because what she didn't have when she was younger were great teeth. Her mother didn't take care of her teeth because they couldn't.
Right.
So she made, no matter how much money she had, she made sure that the three of us had great teeth. Anyway, we're talking about credit. And then the credit. So I have been fortunate enough, and it's not bragging or anything, that I've had good credit my whole credit life.
Right.
So I do understand that, you know, it gives you so much power.
Right.
When you go in to buy a car, or when you are getting lending for a home, we were talking about that in detail later. It's a little bit different than just something like a car, or getting some appliances or a credit card.
Another major purchase.
Right. But when if you feel you're confident enough about your credit, that when you go to apply for something, you're not going to get denied.
Right.
It gives you a lot of power.
Yeah, it's confidence. It's swagger
It's
to know that you're not even questioning if you're able to make this major purchase or not. No. And the freedom that comes with that.
The freedom.
Yeah. And so Ani, for those of you who can see the screen, Ani has just put up some of the credit basics, which gives us an idea of what makes up our credit score, which is really important. So obviously the payment history, the amount owed, credit history, credit mix, so on. And so it's really important that we understand that. And again, please feel free to engage if you have any questions about the information that we're sharing. And it's funny, my mother shared the same thing with me. She always said, protect your credit with your life. And so I understood what that meant and went through great lengths to make sure that I did that. So I had the exact same lesson. What are some of the common myths that people, or women in particular, believe about credit?
That you don't need a lot of it, or you don't need to use it regularly.
Right.
Another thing that people believe is that old credit is what's bringing my score down. Like if you have lower credit scores and you've had some past discrepancies, they think that that's constantly, got its hand on your throat.
Right.
Even 10 years later, when in essence, it's really about your current credit or lack of credit that's either driving your score or keeping it down.
Understood. And then while we're still in this kind of common credit subject, what are some of the most simple or impactful credit tips that people ignore that could help bump that score up?
Using it regularly. I have a lot of people who say, well, I paid off all my stuff, so I should be good. I should pay off all my credit. I don't owe nobody.
Right.
I don't owe nobody, so I should be good. When the only way that a creditor can assess your credit worthiness is if you have credit for them to judge it on.
Right.
So have you ever heard that saying, no credit is like bad credit?
Right.
That's what they mean.
Right.
If you don't have any open credit, they don't know what type of a risk you are.
Right. They're just trying to see how responsible you handle the credit that you have access
to. So you have to be able to manage it or use it to do that. And a lot of people steer away from it.
Right.
So
no, that makes sense. So anybody who is out there on Zoom, anybody have any questions for Micole on credit? Anything that y'all need some clarity on? Don't be bashful.
Hi, this is Cheryl. Can you hear me?
Hi, Cheryl.
Hi, Micole.
Hi, Cheryl.
So I have two young daughters. They're late teens, early 20s. They do not have credit. What's the best way for them to start building credit?
Get them. How old are they again?
20 and 24.
Okay, get them a secured credit card. And I say that because it used to be add them to your existing credit if you have some as an authorized user.
Right.
Yeah, and that's the way, but realistically, the way they've changed the scoring models on that concept is not going to really do them any good. And
really
talk about that. No, they need their own open credit, because the way they're scoring now is based on your credit history. So what that authorized user situation did is it's kind of gave you fake credit. So you built your credit based on,
your parents'
credit, not your credit.
Right.
And so that world is gone. So they need to open up their own credit cards. Now, they can start with their local bank. Some of them will give them a secure credit card doesn't have the extensive fees as like your online bank credit cards.
Right.
But normally without any open credit, they're gonna probably have to start with a secured card.
Okay, thank you.
I I didn't even realize that the authorized user had changed. I still thought that was a great way for young people to begin to establish credit.
No, it used to be, but
Right.
like I said, they changed because it was abused
Right.
so much.
Annie's even over there saying, wow.
Lord.
No. And for those of you who want to look into getting a secure credit card, Credit Karma is a great resource for secure credit cards as well. They don't provide them, but they can give you a list of other banks that do, but you want to definitely watch those fees. That's a great way for your children or young people in your life, whomever that is, to begin to get some practice at credit.
Right. And once they get it established, they can convert it over to a traditional where they don't have those annual fees, but it's kind of like you got to crawl before you walk. So.
Right. And so we're going to transition into our second topic, which is our current credit status. And so, what was interesting, kind of looking at the statistics, it says Black applicants were rejected for mortgage loans at a rate 2.5 times greater than their white applicants. So we get rejected that much. And it's interesting, when Micole came in today, we were talking and you were saying in the last 2 years, about how many loans have you personally had rejected?
Well, the rejected ones is about 600.
In 2021? In just the
2
last
years.
2 years. Okay. Yeah. So you personally have had about 600 applications that were rejected.
Yeah.
And is that about average, that you're turning down that many people who are not qualified to buy?
For me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're turning down that many people because what? Mostly because, is it credit issues primarily?
Yes.
Yeah.
Primarily.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Primarily. It's credit. And of course, 90% of my clients are Black.
Right.
Unfortunately, you can look fortunately and unfortunately, because I have several hundreds that are closed too,
Right.
of course. But yeah, it is normally because of credit.
Wow. And so let's kind of give some context on about mortgages themselves, loans, so people kind of understand the process a little bit more. So how many Black women applicants come into your office that are truly ready?
So the sisters are doing it.
Oh, are they?
They are.
Okay,
they
nice.
Absolutely are. And my husband and I kind of talked about this too, because he's a mortgage banker, and we talked about the brothers are, they're doing better.
Okay.
But they're still not, with the sisters.
Right.
So I would say that at least 60% are probably credit score ready. Because so ready for a mortgage person is not just credit.
Just credit, right.
Yeah. But definitely a large increase in credit score increase, and that just goes to the fact that we're doing the research,
right?
We're doing the work,
we're doing the heavy
looking into it, right? We're doing the preparation. So, but it's definitely not just credit.
Just credit only. Yeah. So, what are the most common type of mortgage loans that people are applying for?
So you have FHA,
which stands for
Federal Housing Administration.
Okay.
You have conventional.
Okay.
You have VA for our veterans.
Okay.
And then you have USDA for the rural housing or the rural areas.
Okay. And so when you have Black women who are applying, they're mostly applying for what type of loan?
Mostly applying for FHA.
Okay. And then can you explain the difference between applying for an FHA loan versus a conventional? What does that mean?
Well, honestly, when you apply, I take a look at your cold credit situation, income, debts, everything, and I'm going to give a professional determination on what's the best route for you.
Okay.
So you can apply most of the time. They actually, when I said what they apply for, that's normally what they end up qualifying for. Okay. But they don't apply knowing
which way they're going to go.
Most of them don't.
Okay.
Know which way they're going to go.
And so what are the credit requirements to get approved? So we're saying FHA, you need a base credit score of what?
620.
A 620. And then for conventional, you need to have at least what credit score?
Minimum 640.
About a 640, okay. And so that's so obviously that's the lower sides of the 600. So is that
Mhm.
considered good, average?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fair to me.
It's
but-
about fair credit, okay. So are any of y'all surprised that the score is that low? That you can actually get approved for a mortgage in the 600s? Because I know a lot of people think, you know, you need to be in that 700, 800 club to get there.
Explain why we put 700.
Right. You definitely want to strive to be in that 700 club.
Yeah, of course.
Because I'm sure that's, you know, that makes things a whole lot easier. Yeah, to get approved.
Yeah, you definitely want to strive. I mean, whatever, the minimum is the minimum, right? That doesn't mean you have to strive for the minimum.
Right.
But as a lender, as long as you meet the minimums, we will qualify you. So, but of course, the lower the credit score, the higher the rate.
Right. So the lower your credit score, it just means this loan is going to cost you more money because they're going to charge you a higher interest rate.
Exactly, because you're a higher risk.
Because you're a higher risk.